Ignorance is never something to celebrate, and in this message, Ubama emphasizes that knowledge is one of the most powerful tools any individual can possess. In a world that changes faster than ever before, choosing to stay uninformed is like choosing to stand still while everything around you keeps moving. When you refuse to learn, you limit not only your own potential, but the potential of the society around you. Obama's message reminds us that seeking truth, gaining knowledge, and continuously expanding our understanding is a responsibility we owe to ourselves, our families, and our communities. Knowledge gives you clarity, the ability to see opportunities where others see obstacles, the confidence to make wise decisions, and the strength to overcome challenges that ignorance would make impossible to navigate. When you know better, you can do better, and that simple idea lies at the core of human progress. Ignorance, on the other hand, creates barriers in our conversations, in our relationships, in our thinking, and even in our dreams. When people choose not to learn, they choose fear over courage, comfort over growth, and stagnation over advancement. The world becomes smaller for those who refuse to explore it. Obama's message pushes us to break those self-imposed boundaries by embracing knowledge, even when it reveals uncomfortable truths. Growth demands facing reality, not avoiding it. Every piece of information you gain, every new skill you learn, and every perspective you understand becomes a tool you can use to shape your future. Knowledge doesn't just prepare you for opportunities, it creates them. Ubama also emphasizes that learning is not only about personal success, it's also about collective responsibility. A society filled with informed individuals is harder to mislead, harder to divide, and far more capable of solving complex problems. When people understand the issues facing their communities, whether economic, social, or political, they become active participants in shaping solutions rather than passive observers. Ignorance weakens societies because uninformed people are easier to manipulate, but knowledge empowers them to stand firm in truth. Obama's message calls on individuals to be citizens who think critically, who question respectfully, and who seek truth instead of accepting surface-level information. Informed citizens strengthen democracy, strengthen communities, and strengthen future generations. On a personal level, knowledge gives people the confidence to take control of their lives. It helps you understand who you are, what you want, and how to achieve it. Ignorance narrows your choices, but knowledge expands them. When you educate yourself, whether through books, experiences, conversations, or exploration, you gain the ability to see beyond your current circumstances. You gain the wisdom to make decisions that align with your goals and the resilience to handle setbacks. Obama's message encourages individuals to view learning not as a chore or a task with an endpoint, but as a lifelong pursuit that enriches every stage of life. There is no age limit on growth, no moment where you know enough, and no point where curiosity should end. The most successful people in the world maintain a constant desire to learn because they understand that knowledge is the fuel for progress. Moreover, Ubama highlights that learning requires humility. Ignorance often comes from pride, the belief that we already know enough or don't need to know more. But true strength comes from admitting what we don't know and being willing to seek answers. Humility allows us to learn from others, to listen instead of argue, to observe instead of judge, and to grow instead of remain stuck. The willingness to learn is a sign of maturity and wisdom, not weakness. When we open ourselves to new ideas, we allow our minds to evolve, and that evolution is essential for personal and societal growth. Knowledge also plays a crucial role in building empathy. When we learn about different cultures, perspectives, histories, and experiences, we become more understanding and less judgmental. Ignorance fuels stereotypes, discrimination, and division. Knowledge breaks them. When you choose to educate yourself about others, you create space for connection, respect, and unity. Obama's message reminds us that an informed mind is a compassionate mind. The more we know, the more we understand, and the more we understand, the better equipped we are to create a world filled with fairness and respect. Finally, choosing knowledge is choosing freedom. Ignorance traps people in cycles of fear, misinformation, and limited thinking. Knowledge liberates them. It unlocks new possibilities and gives people the tools to shape their own destinies. Obama's message is a powerful reminder that every book you read, every lesson you learn, every skill you gain, and every truth you seek adds to your strength. Ignorance is not a virtue, it is a limitation. But knowledge, curiosity, learning, understanding is a pathway to empowerment. The more you learn, the more capable you become. And the more capable you become, the more you can contribute to a better future, not just for yourself, but for everyone around you. Progress never comes from staying comfortable, and this message highlights the truth that real growth begins when we push beyond what is familiar. Obama's idea that curiosity, not comfort, drives progress reminds us that every breakthrough in histories, scientific, social, or personal, started with someone daring to question what already existed. Curiosity pushes us to explore new possibilities, learn new skills, and discover new ideas that can transform our lives. Comfort, however, often keeps us stuck in routines that feel safe but prevent us from evolving. When people choose comfort over curiosity, they stop themselves from reaching their full potential. Obama's message challenges us to embrace the unknown, confront the challenges ahead of us, and allow our curiosity to lead us toward growth instead of settling for what feels easy. Curiosity requires courage. It demands that we admit we don't have all the answers and that we're willing to go out and search for them. This can be uncomfortable because learning new things often exposes our weaknesses, gaps, and misunderstandings. But these moments of discomfort are exactly where transformation begins. When we allow ourselves to feel challenged, we become stronger. The willingness to ask questions, experiment, and explore opens doors to opportunities we never imagined. Obama inspires individuals to replace fear of the unknown with excitement for what could be discovered. Instead of avoiding challenges, curious people seek them, knowing that every challenge brings new wisdom. Comfort is tempting because it feels safe. It gives us routines, predictability, and a sense of control. But staying comfortable for too long leads to stagnation. You end up repeating the same habits, thinking the same thoughts, and experiencing the same results. Progress requires motion. It requires stepping out of familiar patterns and putting yourself in situations where you can learn something new. Obama's message reminds us that progress doesn't happen automatically. It happens when we choose to move forward, even when it feels easier to stay where we are. Growth demands effort, adaptation, and willingness to take risks. One of the reasons curiosity is so powerful is that it creates new perspectives. When you explore different viewpoints, cultures, ideas, and experiences, your mind expands. You begin to see the world more clearly and understand it more deeply. Curiosity removes narrow thinking and replaces it with open-mindedness. Obama encourages people to embrace this openness because it helps build empathy, creativity, and problem-solving skills. When you expose yourself to new information, you develop the ability to understand issues from multiple angles, and that makes you more capable of finding meaningful solutions. Comfort, on the other hand, keeps your mind closed. It tells you that the way things are is the way things should stay. But curiosity challenges that mindset. It asks, what else is possible? Curiosity is also the foundation of innovation. Every invention, every advancement, every improvement in society comes from someone questioning the status quo. From medical breakthroughs to technological revolutions to social movements, progress happens because someone was curious enough to explore beyond what was known. Obama's message emphasizes that innovation isn't reserved for scientists or leaders. It's something everyone can participate in, whether you're improving your personal life, advancing your career, or contributing to your community. Curiosity helps you find new ways to create change. When you ask better questions, you uncover better answers. When you look beyond your comfort zone, you discover new paths forward. Moreover, curiosity builds resilience. When you explore new things and step into unfamiliar territory, you naturally encounter challenges and setbacks. But curious people don't view failure as the end. They see it as part of the learning process. They understand that every mistake teaches them something valuable. This mindset strengthens resilience because it shifts focus from perfection to growth. Obama's message encourages people to adopt this perspective, reminding them that setbacks are not signs to stop. They are signs to keep learning. Comfort, in contrast, avoids challenges and therefore avoids failure, but it also avoids growth. True strength comes from facing difficulties, learning from them, and continuing forward with greater wisdom. Curiosity also ignites passion. When you explore things you don't understand, you often discover interests and talents you never knew you had. Many people limit themselves simply because they never venture beyond what they already know. By allowing ourselves to explore, we give ourselves the chance to find what truly inspires us. Obama highlights the importance of following curiosity because it leads to purpose. The things that excite your mind and awaken your curiosity often guide you toward your calling in life. Staying comfortable may feel secure, but it can keep you disconnected from the deeper passions that make life meaningful. Importantly, curiosity empowers personal responsibility. When you ask questions instead of accepting assumptions, you take control of your own learning. You move from passive living to active growth. Obama's message encourages people to take ownership of their development, to seek knowledge, experiment, and keep expanding their minds. In life, no one improves by accident. Improvement is a choice, and that choice begins with curiosity. Comfort may feel calm in the moment, but it leads to regret in the long run, because people eventually realize they held themselves back. Curiosity, however, leads to discovery, improvement, and transformation. Ultimately, the message is simple but powerful. If you want to grow, you must be willing to let curiosity lead you forward. Comfort will try to hold you in place, but curiosity pushes you toward your potential. Progress belongs to the people who dare to question, who explore boldly, and who embrace the discomfort of growth. Obama's message reminds us that the future is shaped by those who are willing to learn, adapt, and challenge themselves. When you stay curious, you stay alive intellectually. When you stay curious, you keep evolving. And when you stay curious, you create a path not only toward a better version of yourself, but toward a better world for everyone. Leadership is not about titles, positions, or status. It is about understanding, empathy, awareness, and the responsibility to seek truth rather than avoid it. Obama's message emphasizes that real leadership requires insight, not ignorance, engagement, not avoidance, and compassion, not indifference. When leaders choose not to learn, not to listen, or not to understand the people and issues around them, they become disconnected from reality. That disconnect doesn't just weaken their own ability to guide. It creates division, confusion, and mistrust. True leadership demands a willingness to see the world clearly, to understand the challenges others face, to acknowledge complexity rather than oversimplify it, and to use knowledge as the foundation for making decisions that uplift rather than harm. Ignorance may offer temporary comfort, but it never leads to meaningful progress. Understanding, on the other hand, builds bridges and strengthens communities. Leadership built on understanding begins with the ability to listen. Many people think leaders are defined by how they speak, but great leaders are defined by how they listen. Listening allows leaders to gather information, learn from experience, and connect with others on a deeper level. It helps them recognize needs they might otherwise overlook and appreciate the struggles and hopes of those they serve. When leaders choose to ignore voices that don't match their own experiences, they shut down opportunities to grow. But when they choose understanding, they open doors to connection, unity, and powerful collective progress. Obama's message encourages people to approach leadership not with closed minds but with open hearts, willing to hear perspectives different from their own. Another crucial part of leadership is the courage to face the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Ignorance can feel like a shield. It allows leaders to pretend problems don't exist or that challenges aren't pressing. But real progress happens only when we acknowledge reality. Leaders must look directly at issues, no matter how complex or painful, because avoiding them only makes them worse. Whether the issue is inequality, misinformation, climate change, or personal responsibility, hiding from it does not make it disappear. Understanding does. Obama's message highlights that responsible leaders do not fear truth. They use it as fuel to create solutions. They understand that honesty is not a weakness, but a form of strength that builds trust and inspires others to follow. Leadership also requires empathy, the ability to put oneself in someone else's shoes. Ignorance diminishes empathy because it allows people to overlook the struggles of others. When leaders don't understand their communities, they make decisions that deepen divisions. But when leaders take the time to learn about the fears, needs, dreams, and experiences of others, they create policies and environments that reflect fairness and understanding. Empathy shows people that they matter. It builds loyalty and strengthens bonds between leaders and those they guide. Obama's message reinforces that leadership is not about being above people. It's about standing with them, learning from them, and growing together. Moreover, leaders who seek understanding are better problem solvers. Ignorance narrows the mind, preventing leaders from seeing the full picture. When people avoid learning, they rely on assumptions rather than facts, on guesses rather than evidence. This leads to poor decisions that harm communities and weaken progress. But leaders who ground their decisions in knowledge think more creatively, evaluate all sides of an issue, and make choices that lead to long-term solutions. Understanding expands possibilities. It allows leaders to adapt, innovate, and respond wisely to challenges that require clear thinking and informed judgment. Leadership built on understanding also inspires others to learn. When people see a leader who asks questions, seeks knowledge, and admits when they don't know something, they feel encouraged to do the same. This fosters a culture of growth and humility, two qualities essential for any group or society that wants to move forward. Ignorance, however, creates a culture of fear, silence, and stagnation. In environments where leaders pretend they know everything, others are afraid to ask questions or challenge ideas. But in environments shaped by understanding, people feel safe to learn, explore, and contribute new ideas. Obama's message reminds us that great leaders don't just lead, they inspire others to rise with them. Another important aspect of leadership grounded in understanding is the ability to unite rather than divide. Ignorance often leads to us versus them thinking. Without understanding, leaders rely on stereotypes, rumors, and assumptions. This creates unnecessary conflict and breaks communities apart. But understanding encourages unity. It helps leaders see the common humanity that connects people, regardless of differences in culture, religion, politics, or background. When leaders seek understanding, they bring people together through shared values and goals. Obama's message encourages people to practice leadership that unites, not leadership that separates, because real progress happens when people move forward together. Understanding also shapes character. Leaders who learn consistently develop humility, patience, wisdom, and self-awareness. They understand their strengths and weaknesses, acknowledge their mistakes, and remain open to improvement. Ignorance blinds leaders to their own flaws, leading to arrogance and poor judgment. But understanding allows them to grow as individuals, strengthening their ability to guide others effectively. Obama's message encourages leaders to approach growth as a personal responsibility, not a task assigned by others. A leader who seeks understanding becomes a model of integrity and wisdom. Finally, leadership rooted in understanding creates a future grounded in possibility. Ignorance limits vision. It focuses on fear, restriction, and the belief that things must stay the same. Understanding expands vision. It fuels hope, creativity, and the belief that change is possible. Leaders who choose understanding build pathways to better futures. They see beyond temporary challenges and imagine what their communities could become. They push people forward, not through force, but through inspiration. Obama's message reminds us that the world needs leaders who learn, who listen, who think, and who understand, because only these leaders can guide humanity toward brighter days. When leaders reject ignorance and embrace understanding, they become catalysts for transformation. They uplift others, break barriers, and create the conditions for real, lasting progress. Leadership built on knowledge is leadership with purpose. Leadership built on wisdom is leadership that stands the test of time. Education is more than a pathway to success. It is the foundation on which every opportunity in life is built. Obama's message emphasizes that learning is not confined to classrooms, textbooks, or formal institutions. It is a lifelong process that shapes character, sharpens judgment, and opens doors that ignorance can never unlock. Education gives people the ability to think critically, to understand the world beyond their own experiences, and to develop the skills necessary to create meaningful change. It is the great equalizer, the force that allows individuals from any background to rise, to achieve, and to transform not only their own lives, but the lives of those around them. Without education, whether formal learning, self-education, or the lessons gained through life experiences, people remain limited in their ability to grow, adapt, and succeed. Obama's message makes it clear: if you want to expand your future, you must expand your mind. Education builds confidence. When people learn, they gain the ability to understand situations more clearly and make decisions more effectively. Knowledge reduces fear because it replaces uncertainty with insight. Many people are held back in life not because they lack talent, but because they lack the information needed to recognize their abilities or pursue opportunities. With education, individuals discover what they are capable of. They learn how to communicate, how to solve problems, how to think creatively, and how to adapt to challenges. These skills are essential not only for careers, but also for personal growth. Education equips people with the tools needed to navigate life with clarity rather than confusion, with strength rather than insecurity. Education also fuels independence. When you learn, you rely less on assumptions, guesses, or opinions of others. You develop your own perspective based on knowledge and experience. This independence empowers you to make choices that align with your values and goals. Without education, people often fall into the trap of following the crowd or accepting limitations imposed by their environment. But with knowledge, they learn to question, to analyze, and to think for themselves. Obama's message emphasizes that education liberates the mind. It encourages people to rise above their circumstances and take ownership of their direction in life. Moreover, education is the foundation of economic opportunity. In a world that is rapidly evolving, the skills that create prosperity are increasingly tied to learning and adaptability. Whether it's technology, communication, leadership, or problem solving, educated individuals are better prepared for modern challenges. They have access to better jobs, higher wages, and more options. Obama often highlights that education not only improves your life, but strengthens your family and community. When educated individuals succeed, they create a ripple effect, supporting others, inspiring youth, contributing to society and building stronger economies. Ignorance closes doors, but education opens countless possibilities. Another powerful aspect of education is its ability to break cycles of poverty, cycles of disadvantage, cycles of limited thinking. When someone in a family becomes educated, they shift the trajectory for generations. Children grow up seeing new possibilities, families develop new goals, and the community gains a role model. Education transforms lives at the individual and collective level. Obama's message emphasizes that every child deserves the chance to learn, not just for their own benefit, but for the future of society as a whole. When a community invests in education, it invests in hope, stability, and long-term progress. Education also teaches discipline and perseverance. Learning requires patience, curiosity, and consistent effort. It teaches people how to overcome frustration, how to stay committed, and how to push through challenges. These habits become essential in every area of life. When you learn to solve a difficult problem or understand a complex idea, you train your mind to handle adversity. This mental strength carries into relationships, careers, and personal development. Obama's message reminds us that education is not only about accumulating knowledge, it is about developing resilience, the ability to keep going when life becomes difficult. Another important element of education is exposure. When you learn, you expose yourself to different cultures, histories, ideas, and viewpoints. This broadens your understanding of the world and helps you develop empathy. Ignorance breeds division because it keeps people locked in their own limited perspective. But education builds connection because it reveals the shared humanity that exists across differences. The more you learn about others, the more you understand yourself. Education reduces prejudice, breaks stereotypes, and encourages unity. Obama highlights that an educated society is more compassionate, more thoughtful, and more capable of solving social problems. Furthermore, education sparks creativity. When the mind absorbs new information, it begins to form new ideas. Creativity is not just for artists. It is necessary for innovation, leadership, entrepreneurship, and personal fulfillment. Education helps people think outside the box, imagine new possibilities, and develop solutions that improve the world. The greatest innovations in history came from educated minds that dared to think differently. Obama's message emphasizes that education is not about memorizing information. It is about inspiring creativity, curiosity, and the courage to imagine a better future. Lastly, education is a lifelong responsibility. It does not end with graduation or adulthood. The world is constantly changing, and staying informed is essential for success and survival. Whether it's learning new skills, staying aware of current events, or challenging your own beliefs, continuous learning keeps the mind alive and evolving. Obama's message reinforces that those who stop learning fall behind, while those who continue to learn stay strong, competitive, and capable of shaping their destiny. Education is not a phase. It is a journey that lasts a lifetime. In the end, the message is clear. Education is the key to opportunity, equality, and progress. It builds strong individuals, strong families, and strong nations. It transforms fear into confidence, confusion into clarity, and limitation into possibility. Ignorance holds people back, but education lifts them up. A brighter future begins with a commitment to learning, every day, in every way, for as long as we live. The future belongs to those who are informed, aware, and willing to think beyond the surface, and Obama's message reinforces this truth with clarity. A better tomorrow depends on a generation that values knowledge over convenience, truth over comfort, and understanding over ignorance. In a rapidly changing world, information is power, and those who refuse to learn fall behind not only technologically, but socially, emotionally, and intellectually. The choices we make today, the things we choose to learn or ignore, directly shape the kind of world we create for ourselves and for the generations that will follow. Ignorance may feel easy in the moment, but it comes with a heavy cost, missed opportunities, flawed decisions, and a weakened society. Knowledge, on the other hand, builds strength, confidence, and the ability to navigate life with purpose. Ubama's message reminds us that the future is shaped not by those who celebrate not knowing, but by those who actively seek to understand. A well-informed generation is a powerful force. When people stay informed about the world around them, its challenges, its progress, its injustices, and its possibilities, they become capable of making smarter choices. An informed person looks beyond headlines and rumors, seeking truth through research, dialogue, and critical thinking. This habit protects individuals from manipulation and misinformation, which have become widespread in the digital age. Without a commitment to knowledge, it becomes easy for false information to spread, creating confusion and division. But when a generation values learning, they become resilient against deception. They can differentiate between fact and fiction, think independently, and contribute meaningfully to discussions that shape society. Ubama's message encourages individuals to take responsibility for their understanding rather than relying on what is easy or popular. An informed generation is also more compassionate. When people learn about the struggles of others across cultures, communities, and experiences, they become more understanding and less judgmental. Ignorance fosters fear, stereotypes, and unnecessary conflict. But knowledge builds bridges. It helps people see the humanity in one another. Through education and awareness, individuals begin to realize how interconnected the world is and how much we rely on each other. Ubama often emphasizes that empathy grows through understanding, and understanding grows through learning. A knowledgeable society is more likely to stand together rather than fall apart, because its people can see beyond the differences that divide them and focus on the shared values that unite them. The future also requires innovation, and innovation requires informed minds. Every breakthrough in health, technology, science, art, and social progress depends on people who are curious enough to question the norm and informed enough to create solutions. Ignorance limits creativity because it narrows the mind, but knowledge expands it. When people study history, science, human behavior, and global challenges, they gain the insight needed to develop new ideas. Innovation thrives when individuals have access to information and the willingness to use it. Ubama's message emphasizes that the next generation must not only inherit the world, they must improve it, and improvement is possible only through informed thinking, learning, and imagination. Being informed also strengthens communities. When people understand the issues affecting their neighborhood's education, healthcare, economy, environment, they can work together to create positive change. They can advocate for fairness, vote responsibly, support good leadership, and challenge harmful policies. Ignorance leads people to rely on guesswork or emotional reactions, which often results in division or bad decisions. But knowledge empowers communities to build systems that promote justice, opportunity, and stability. An informed community recognizes its own power and uses it wisely. Ubama's message calls on individuals to engage with the world around them, not to turn away from it, because ignoring problems does not solve them. Awareness does. On a personal level, being informed shapes destiny. People who commit to learning about their skills, passions, finances, relationships, and goals make choices that move them forward instead of backward. The more a person knows, the more options they have. Ignorance limits dreams because it creates doubt and keeps people trapped in the same patterns, but knowledge opens new paths. It reveals potential, guides ambition, and helps individuals recognize opportunities they may have never imagined. Obama's message encourages individuals to take charge of their future by first taking charge of their understanding. A person who seeks knowledge becomes more confident, more strategic, and more capable of achieving what they aspire to. Informed individuals also make the world safer. Whether it's understanding public health, environmental issues, or social tensions, awareness allows people to respond responsibly rather than react carelessly. Ignorance places people at risk because it prevents them from recognizing dangers or preparing for challenges. But informed individuals anticipate problems, understand their causes, and work toward solutions. The future demands people who are educated not only in academic subjects but also in emotional intelligence, cultural awareness, and global challenges. Obama emphasizes that surviving in the modern world requires more than basic knowledge. It requires wisdom that comes from continuous learning. Furthermore, the future is shaped by the next generation's values. If young people grow up believing that ignorance is acceptable or even admirable, society weakens. But if they grow up respecting learning, questioning, and thinking, society becomes stronger. The values of a generation determine the quality of the world they will inherit and the legacy they will leave behind. Obama's message reminds us that guiding the next generation toward awareness is one of the most important responsibilities adults have. Parents, teachers, leaders, and role models must show through their actions that knowledge is powerful and ignorance is dangerous. Ultimately, a better future is not guaranteed. It is built step by step by people who choose to understand rather than ignore. When a generation commits itself to learning, it gains the strength to rise above challenges, the wisdom to make informed decisions, and the vision to create meaningful progress. Obama's message is a call to awaken the mind, embrace curiosity, and seek truth in a complicated world. Ignorance leads nowhere, but knowledge leads everywhere. The future will be shaped by those who are informed, aware, and unafraid to think deeply, because they are the ones capable of leading humanity toward brighter possibilities.